Da-da-da-da. I wonder if I can get the link out of this. Oh, there we go. Yep. Back at it again. It is time for class. So let us get ourselves together and let me make sure I mute this because I don't need the audio right now. Yeah, we are about to get into some deep detail, so get ready with a pen and a paper. So I have a tall glass of lemonade, drink off half it already because I've been here preparing for you guys, preparing to drop some heavy material, even though I still can't get into as deep a topic as I want to on these lives, but I'm still going to be sharing some advanced information, somewhat advanced, right? I can't share the entire steps, I can't share the entire process, but I can share with you some details that will help you if you are still battling with traffic situations, if you're battling with interrogations on the side of the road, battling with the traffic tickets, arguing with the police officers, trying to educate the officers on the side of the road. All of them something there. I'm telling you all the while, cut that out. Do not try to educate the officers on the side of the road. It does not work. Even if you try to convince one, not gonna work for you most of the time. Even if you know the law, sometimes it doesn't work. Unless you are Mr. Dunn. you see, you know something? I'm going to link up Mr. Dunn one at a time, and see if we can do a collaboration live. Because, you see, he has one approach and I have a completely different approach. Both of them works. But for those who are watching Mr. Dunn, you have to be quite astute to be able to approach the officers in a lawful way. And if you notice, Mr. Dunn is also bringing the law. It is not just me. Mr. Dunn brings the law. I bring the law, but more on a private side, more administrative. Mr. Dunn, I'm ready for you anyway, anytime. You see me? I'm not really into the talking, because really and truly, I know that people who are ignorant of things, when I say ignorant, comprehend what I mean. People who are not up to par with legal terminology, legal statutes, and even court precedents. They will talk to you about common sense and things that they think they know. And then when them buck up on somebody who actually know what them are talking about, them jump to opinions. And we don't depend on opinions over here, so. A straight law. If it isn't, if I can't prove it, I'm not tell nobody to do it. Just plain and simple. If me know what me I do, remember me tell you, you have to come correct. That's how me look at it. So at the end of the day, people, no conjecture, no opinion, no suppositions, no theories. You have to be able to back up what you say. You have to be able to prove your point with evidence, not opinions. Because if you think about the mind can always conjure up something. Big up yourself, TikTok police. What go on? And welcome everybody. Welcome. Tap up the live. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes so they can join in. We know so the agents them always are going to join. But it is what it is. We don't have nothing to hide. You see me? Because what we say? Lawful. Always around here. That's all we focus on. Zine? So, While people out there thinking, oh, you know, they might try circumvent the law. Oh, they might try do this, might try do that. No, we're not trying. We are doing. And what we are doing is we are staying within the confines of the law. So the law is very narrow, you know. So when we come within the confines of the law, you have no excuse. Nothing can come before the law if it is not in alignment with the law. Zin? Exactly. You're acting within the confines of the law. So no matter what anybody come with, a truth has to overcome a truth. Nothing but the truth can overcome a truth. So you can have a lesser truth and a higher truth, you know. Such a thing exists. Let me give you an example. A lot of people out here, they get a ticket, and the first thing them try to do is argue about the details of the ticket. Argue about whether the ticket is, you know, is sufficient or if it warranted and all them something there. Right? So let's say, for example, you get a ticket and the ticket is more than the statutory limits. Right? For example, if you have, let's say, a speeding ticket and you are going only 10 miles over the speeding limit, right? And you got a $20,000 ticket. That is over the limit of what the law allows. So that is one truth. So you can say, yeah, the ticket was not supposed to be that much. But you're arguing the wrong truth. You're arguing the wrong fact. Is the ticket valid in the first place for me to even go into details? That is the first question, you know. Is the ticket issued lawfully in the first place? Not whether or not the details of the ticket are valid. Because if you jump past the foundational knowledge, then you've admitted to it because you did not contend those details. Okay? So if you're not talking about foundation first, that is your first error. You have now pleaded what's called a lesser defense, when you could have pleaded a very high defense from the start to say, hey, did the police even have authority to issue this ticket in the first place? Right? You don't talk about details when the foundation is wrong. You know, I don't know if you want to see the video them a couple months ago. But there were people building houses. And after a while, the house them start collapse. I think about 2 houses I saw that collapsed because it wasn't built properly. The foundation wasn't proper. Some people have built house without steel. What may I tell you? I don't say wickedness can't done. Sometimes you get people that do things for you, and next thing you know, you end up in a bad situation because you try to save $1. So you end up spending 20. Exactly, Rabanto. That's a steal. So you can't cut shortcut when it comes to anything serious. You have to take it serious. Robo, why don't you be a liar? You know, you are about the 10th person that asked me that question. Simple answer is this. When you become an attorney, you are bound by the organization that issues you the license or the authority to practice law. When you are a layman, you do not are a free man. You do not have the confines of a corporation or a statutory body or a corporate body telling you what to do and what you can't do. As long as you are within the confines of the law, there is no reason to be an attorney. And I don't want to make a business out of it. If I wanted to, I could have been charging everybody for the information that I have. But I chose to do this for free because I love my people. This is why I want everybody to learn and know what they are doing rather than coming to me. So the more I teach, the more people learn how to fish. Instead of being fishers of men, you become fishers of your own destiny. See? So, yeah man, that is why I do this. Is it? Exactly. If I keep on give you, you know, keep on come back. Yeah, I'm not depend that. Want to know say, yo, alright, suppose me in a situation and me want some assistance. I mean, unlikely, but it can happen. I want to know say I can have some people in my corner. I want to know say I have other people who I can talk with, I can reason with. We can show a situation and we reason it out lawfully. And once we reason out the thing lawfully, then we can move forward in a positive way. We can't just sit down and talk and no solution. So many people are pointing out the problems of society, the problems. Where are the solutions? You see me? So that is where I am at. Solutions and sticking within the confines of the law. And doing it without compensation and staying out of the realm of commerce. See? So, my people, back at it again. We are going to get started today. And a few times now, we've gone off on tangents. And I'm going to go back to our primary objective, which is defeating traffic tickets. Those that are wrongfully issued and those we feel are not justified. Right? How do we challenge a traffic ticket? How do we properly make sure that we are always in the right? And when we challenge the tickets, we ensure that we proceed in a lawful manner that can be beneficial in the future. Right? So, as we've said many times, okay, those who are just joining the live, first time coming on the page, big up on yourself and welcome. Stay for a bit and you might learn a lot. All right? So for those who are new to the page, we're going to go over the law that gives the police the power to be out there on the road. And it is only one law. Okay? It is called the Constabulary Force Act. That is the body of law in Jamaica that allows the police to have duties and powers. See? So we're going to go over the Constabulary Force Act, Section 13. Again. And the amount of time I've been over this thing, I would have thought that by now, everybody would know this thing by heart. Right? First, we talked about, if you've been to my page before, big up on yourself. Justin, Wagwan, Adrian, big up. Saint Mary Goodas, big up yourself. Yeah, man, welcome everybody, welcome. So, Nick, you come over here asleep, shame on you. But stay for a little bit, you might learn a thing or two. Yeah, man, so, we've been talking about traffic on this page for quite a while. And for those that are new, you might not be aware of where the police gets their power from. And we're going to go over that first before I get into a little bit more advanced of a topic. All right, so we're going to go over to the computer and we're going to take a look at the Constabulary Force Act. Jackie, big up yourself, but we don't use blessings over here. You can say gratitude, you can say big up, you can say grand rising, but we stay away from blessings because it is associated with blood and consecration. Is it? But yeah, man, gratitude, same way. I know what you mean. Thank you. Zin? So, first order of business. Let us take a look at the Constabulary Force Act, Section 13. And we've had many conversations about this with attorneys, officers, and again, we make sure we're within the confines of the law. So Section 13 says, the duties of the police. Remember, we're talking about the duties and powers of the force, or duties and powers of the police. Now, the police is everyone from the commissioner go all the way down. See? So, the duties of the police under this act shall be to keep watch by day and by night. So this is one of the many things that they are assigned to do by law. Keep watch by day and by night. What that mean? That means that them can go to a road and them can look around, them can see who is committing a crime or who may be in progress of committing a crime or who is caught in the act of committing a crime. So that's what they're doing. Keep watch by day and by night, right? To preserve the peace. So if you have some kind of disturbance going on The police have a duty to preserve the peace. Then can't see somebody a fight out a road and don't interact and stop the fight. They can't have someone threatening everyone in the public and don't do something about it. So that's what it means by preserve the peace. Make sure that there's peace out a road. To detect crime, very important. Okay, that's what we just talked about. Keep watch by day and by night. But that keep watch is only in relation to a crime, as it states here. Zin? Apprehend or summon before a justice. Notice this is not two sentences. This is are two sections. This is one section. So you apprehend someone and bring them before a justice, or you give them a summon and you allow them to go before a justice to be tried for an offense. Right? Notice it didn't say to lock up anybody. All right. It says apprehend or summon before a justice. So you bring them before the justice, or you summon them, give them a summons, make them go before a justice. Persons found committing any offense, or whom they may reasonably suspect of having committed any offense, or who may be charged with having committed any offense. Okay? So again, all of this has to do with an offense or a crime. And we already seen that a crime and an offense mean the same thing. Right? A matter of fact, let us qualify our statement and let us go to a legal dictionary. Right? Let's use Black's Law 9th edition and let's look up the word offense. Because what we say? We have to talk within the confines of the law. So let us pull up offense. All right, here we got offense. Offender, offense. All right, here we have offense, right? And you might have seen this on the page. Let's bring it down a little bit. All right. So what does offense mean? This is the legal definition. A violation of law, a crime, often a minor one. See crime, also termed criminal offense. And what does the explanation say? Because obviously they know that people are going to misconstrue what is said here. So they give you an example or an explanation within the legal dictionary. It says, the terms crime, offense, and criminal offense are all said to be synonymous and ordinarily used interchangeably. So it is telling you that all these words mean the same thing. Crime, offense, criminal offense. Okay? All right. Back to the Constabulary Force Act, Section 13. Zin? So, then detect crime and they try to see if anyone is committing an offense. So, a crime is the past tense, offense is supposed to be present tense. Anyways, let's continue. To serve and execute all summonses. Right? Now, where does the police get the power to issue a summons? A summons comes from a court. A summons is something that forces you or commands you to go down to a courthouse to go see a judge. Execute all summonses, warrants. Where do warrants come from? A warrant has to come from a court again, right? So this is again a duty from the court. Subpoenas. Where do subpoenas come from? Where do subpoenas get the authority and come from? The court. Notices. Who can issue notices? Can a police issue notice by himself? No. It has to come from the court. This is again a duty imposed by the court. And criminal processes. Who issue criminal processes? The court. Issued from any court of criminal justice. So let me just say. The act itself is qualifying itself. All of these things, all of these duties that the police have are coming from the powers of the court, right? Or by any justice in a criminal matter. And to do and perform all the duties appertaining to the office of a constable. But it shall not be lawful. All right, see that switch gear you know. It just tell you what is lawful for the police, you know. All of this first section of the Constabulary Force Act, section 13. It gives you what the police is allowed to do. Right? But it shall not be lawful. So it'll tell you what is unlawful now. But it shall not be lawful to employ any member of the force in the service of any civil process. Very important. And we're going to go into full details shortly. So it says, it shall not be lawful to employ any member of the force in the service of any civil process. So the court cannot issue any civil process by itself. The only thing the court is supposed to be there to do that they can do by themselves is criminal processes. Okay? So the court cannot do anything on behalf of anyone. All right? Unless it relates to a crime. Okay? Or, so again, this section is separate. It shall not be lawful to employ any member of the force in the service of any civil process, or in the levying of rents, or rates, or taxes, for or on behalf of any private person or incorporated company. So again, what is all of that saying? It's saying the only thing the police have a power to do is to do anything as it relates to a crime. That is it. Point blank. Case closed. Crime alone, the police have power for instigate. Well, not instigate, sorry, wrong term. To investigate, to look into, to apprehend people based on, all having to do with a crime. Right? And they say it shall not be lawful to employ any member of the force in the service of any civil process. So now, people, let me ask you a question. If this is the case, then what is a ticket? A ticket is deemed a criminal offense, right? If the ticket, Kamara said only crime, but we have to know first the definition of a crime and offense to know both are the same. Exactly. And this is why we have class. Most people that I know, they don't know what a ticket is in the first place. Then just say, boy, I get a ticket and I know say if me not pay me a warrant, I got issue for me arrest. That's what most people know. Them just a follow. Or sometimes them get directive by the officer, hey, you have to pay this ticket, or you show up on the date and time that is on the ticket. So all people are doing follow. Them now look for themselves to see if this is the correct thing to do. Right? So now you get a ticket and you figure, say, boy, me no want to go on a court, you know, because me no want to waste my time. Me no want to waste my day. So better me pay the $7,000 or the $10,000 or the $2,500. Whatever it is. And this is the great trick. Because even when you know you're innocent, you run go pay the ticket because you don't want to waste a one day trying to go fight the ticket. All when you know so you're in the right. And then people take the bravery, you know. Them take the bravery and them go down to the courthouse. Them spend the day and go to court. And then make the clerk convince them, say, them to plead guilty with explanation. That is the only time they can talk to the judge right away. And that is unlawful, you know. That is what is called legal advice. The clerk is not supposed to be telling people what to do. And that again is a lie. Because when you are in court, for whatever reason, and you say not guilty, what the judge are going to do? He's going to set another court date because you failed to prepare for the first one. So when you didn't prepare for the first one, the judge is going to ask you guilty or not guilty, because that is the first step. You did not make a plea before you get to court, or you did not contest the ticket before you get to court. You did not challenge jurisdiction before you came to court. You did not challenge the venue before you get to court. So when you reach court for the first time, them know so you don't know what you do. Because you cannot, most of you cannot talk yourself out of it. So you end up in a problem. So now, even when time you decide, say, you go challenge the ticket, you go listen to the clerk, and you get convicted, and you still have to pay the amount that was on the ticket. So you not only did you waste the day, now you give away some money. If you are going to contest a ticket, you cannot plead guilty with no explanation. That is not how it works. Once you plead guilty, you give up all your rights. You give up all of your defenses. You give up everything that can be in your benefit. There are ways around it, you know. But we can't talk about them something upon the live. So, the duties and powers of the police are only related to crime. Let me say, the duties of the police is only related to crime. No, remember, you know, a crime and an offense are the same thing. They are synonymous. They mean the same thing. So when you hear the word crime or when you hear the word offense, don't think so because them say this is a traffic offense. Don't make them trick you to make you think say, oh, it's a lower crime. Crime is crime. It no matter what you want to call it. How it is treated, yes, it is different. But the elements are still the same. A crime cannot be distinguished from anything else. It comes from common law all over the years. Okay? Hundreds of years. See? So they're trying to trick you with the words because they know you're not going to look them up. But let us qualify what we are saying. Right? Because a lot of time we're looking at the definitions and we hear officers sometimes and sometimes we hear attorneys and we hear different people where they're saying, you just sit down upon the definition and things that are going to work in a court. And I have proven this before. But let us qualify what we're saying, right? Here we have the Supreme Court, right? And let us look up Black's Law again, for those that are new. Right? So we're doing a search on the Supreme Court website. Zin? And as we can see here, the court itself references the Black's Law Dictionary. So when you hear attorneys making fun of you, saying, oh, I bet you're not going to say it in a Black's Law Dictionary. They are making fun of you because you don't know that it is applicable to your case. You don't know that you can bring your own authority into court. You didn't know that you can bring your own definitions into court. You didn't know that you can bring your own proper authoritative defenses in court. Right? This is why many of you lose. And this is what they are hiding in many cases. Because a lot of time people will have the Black's Law Dictionary in their possession. Or they have access to the Black's Law Dictionary. And what they do? Then disregard it because them get talk out of it. This is your proof that it can be used all the way up to the Supreme Court. So, I hope you get that. I hope you get that. Not only that, you can take out the word blacks out of this and just put Law Dictionary. And search for that. And not only Black's Law you will see. You will see multiple other dictionaries. Let's see if we can find some other ones, right? Let's see if we can find some other ones. We have some. Let me close I close out Telegram for now, so we don't get distracted. All right. So we have Black's Law again. Let's see what else we have. We have Webster's New World College Dictionary. What else we got? You see? From an unconventional source, an online legal dictionary, namely the free dictionary by Farlocks, which states, and the court is quoting from that dictionary. So even an online legal dictionary you can use as your authority, you know. Let us take a look again. Because I want to make sure you realize, you know, you are not confined by a specific legal dictionary. You don't need to have a whole library in your home. You don't need to have one heap of book pack up. A lot of these things are downloadable online. See, we have the Concise Oxford English Dictionary, right? So we have reference to a PDF. Black's Law again. Refer to Stroud's Judicial Dictionary 3rd edition. So then give you all the references in here. You can go and Google search them. And a matter of fact, let me show you what you can do. Let's go to Google. I'm going to show you something in Google right now. Let's search for Legal Dictionary PDF. That's all I'm going to put in. And watch here. These are PDF documents that are sometimes legal dictionaries that you can download to your computer or to your phone. And they are absolutely free. You don't have to pay for them. You don't have to go out and try to buy legal dictionaries. Mr. Davian, Wagwan, you say you have a burning a burning issue you'd like to inquire about. Now, this is a good place to let everyone know. I am not offering legal advice. So, any opinion that I give, it is strictly my opinion only, and it is not legal advice. So, Mr. Davian, sorry. You can click on one of the boxes and come on up so that we can discuss your theoretical scenario. So again, people, you can go into Google and you can find your own legal dictionary free of cost. You don't have to go buy one. Okay? Davian. Davian look like him not pay attention or him busy right now. Alright, we're gonna move on. When you're ready, you come back. Zin? Alright, me go make this to only one so that we can deal with that later. Alright. So you can even search for the legal dictionary, whatever you find in here in the Supreme Court. You can search for that, and then you can use that as your reference as well, because it is a direct reference that is already within the Supreme Court. See? All right. So, that being said, the last time we were talking about the elements of a crime, right? And you can go into Google for this one as well and type in elements of a crime. Because this is very important, you know. Very important. I'm going to show you why. If you scroll down a little bit, it shows you the elements of a crime. Now, generally, you need 3 elements to in order for a crime to be an actual crime. So what you're accused of, let's say someone accuses you of a crime. That don't mean that you are a criminal. That don't mean that a crime is actually in progress or has occurred. Right? So, at the end of the day, you have to know these things. If you don't know these things, it is to your detriment. Okay? So we went over these before, and I if you're on my page and you see the post, you'll notice that I went over mens rea and actus reus before, and we also went over another one called corpus delicti, right? So, you see all of these elements, right? If you end up in court for something that you didn't do and you're pleading your innocence, right? Your questions are supposed to be surrounding these elements. Mens rea, actus reus, and the actual criminal act. And let's see if they have the other one here. You have the criminal intent, you have actus reus, mens rea, and you need corpus delicti. Corpus delicti isn't here. But mens rea, guilty mind, actus reus, guilty act, and you also need what's called the body of the crime. You need the evidence to show that a crime occurred. A crime is not simply because someone says a crime occurred. You have to show proof. If you don't have proof, that essential element, corpus delicti, as a matter of fact, we can type that in as well. Corpus delicti is a Latin word. It means body of the crime, right? If you don't have the body of the crime, if you can't show the proof, the evidence that a crime occurred, you don't have a crime. Now let me ask you a question. When you get a traffic ticket, what evidence is there that you committed a crime or an offense? Whichever one you want to call it, because it's all them are the same thing. Where is the evidence to support the fact that you committed an offense? Did the officer give you notice of that? Of the evidence that he has? So when we talk about the foundation, when we talk about the legal cornerstone of every allegation when it comes to a crime, you have to first look at the elements that are necessary to make that thing valid. Okay? So if you are being accused, you have to know what constitutes that accusation. What does the prosecution need before they can say, yes, this person did commit this crime? You need 3 elements. You need the mens rea. If you click on this, where it say? Let us read from it, right? Mens rea refers to the intent to commit the act, not the intent to break the law. For example, if a person throws a rock through a storefront window, right? Somebody might fling one stone, but it never mean figure broke the window, right? So you need to show the intent to actually wanting to do that thing. Guilty mind. What is actus reus? Actus reus. The third element of the crime is actus reus. The criminal intent to be punished must be obvious in some voluntary act or omission of an act, right? So this is the act itself. You have to show, say, this person here do this thing. And again, you have to be able to prove it. It is not word of mouth. But again, if you don't bring up these specific things, what is happening is you are listening to people chatter and talk up a good game. But yet still, they do not meet any elements of anything. All they are doing is playing mind games, psychological games, if they are not proving mens rea and actus reus. Those are the first 2 elements. The next element is they have to show proof of the actual crime. Show who was injured or damaged or what property was injured or damaged in the first place to constitute a crime. Because a crime itself cannot be inflicted on the government. Let me say that again. The government cannot be the party of a crime. We cannot harm the government. So it cannot be the government against somebody when you talk about a crime. right? Because the government is not an individual, the government is not a property, the government is not it is not in a singular nature. So therefore, how are you going to harm the government? So it has to be harm against either society as a whole, trying to harm everybody, or you're trying to harm an individual, or you're trying to destroy property or something of an individual nature that can be quantified, meaning you can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. Say this individual, yeah? Yes, I diss him though, and see the evidence, yeah. Exactly, but then that still comes down to the personal nature. It has to be as it relates to an individual or property. It cannot be arbitrary. So, the last time, let's turn the camera around again so that we can talk. See? The last time we had an officer, and the officer presented the argument that, okay, so what about somebody who is speeding, right? And I said, what about it? And the officer said, well, that is a crime because you can injure somebody. I just have to laugh, you know. But I like to let people explain themselves and not overtalk. So let me go back up here so and see what I go on. Apologize for distraction after. No site access. Me not get what you mean, Afrodub. Explain. Let's check the site. The site is up. The site is up, so I'm not sure what you mean. If you're having an error, send me a message on Telegram and I'll check it out. Zin? Alright, so back at it again. So, back to the issue of speeding, right? If somebody is speeding and you get a ticket saying that that is an offense, right? If that is an offense, who is the injured party? You've been hearing this before, right? Is there an injured party, right? That is not the right terminology to really use. But you can use that to ask the officer the question. You can say, well, who is injured or what property was damaged? If the officer said there is none, he's just following the law, then you'll even make a writing ticket. You see me? Because when you go to court, it is very simple to say, okay, is this considered a criminal act? Right? The judge is going to say yes. It is an offense. Right? So now, and you don't even have to ask that question, you know, because you're supposed to know, but you can actually plead those facts. You can put in an affidavit, and you don't even have to really talk. But you can if you want to. Excuse me. So, if we have a situation of speeding, who is the injured party? Where is the damaged property? Did someone unalive as a result? So how can it be constituted to be a crime? It cannot. Under common law, which is where crimes fall, you cannot have an infraction, what you call a traffic infraction, or a minor crime, or a misdemeanor. It is still a crime. The elements of a crime must be met when you have an accusation or an allegation by any public official. There is no excuse. There is no going around it. There is no loophole. If a crime is alleged, it must be proven. This is why you have a jury. You have the option of a jury trial. So when you don't know what the heck is going on. You end up in this new world of a court and you get accused of something and you keep on, I try paddle and you try grab every kind of straw you can get. Then somebody give you a maca stick and it juke you and you just start sink, right? You get processed, all kind of things that happen to you. All because you don't know what is happening and how you can possibly defend yourself if you are innocent. Now, I keep on saying this, because there are many people out there who are of the opinion that I am against the police and I am against this, against that. I am against violators of the law. I'm in a business who you are. If you are violating the law and you are affecting society, I am against that. Point blank. No apologies given. You see me? Because at the end of the day, what is the police there to do? To stop and fight crime. So I am on the side of that. That is what I want. Stop the crime. Stop unlawful activity. So that is what I am for. That is what this whole page is for. Stop unlawful activity. See, so at the end of the day, if a crime cannot be proven, then what is the ticket for? Why was the ticket issued in the first place if no crime was detected? As required by the Constabulary Force Act, Section 13. Listen, the Constabulary Force Act, Section 13 cannot be overridden to talk about details of a ticket. Okay? The power in the first place and the duty must first be established once challenged. Let me say that again. You cannot run past the authority to issue the ticket in the first place and start talking about the ticket if you challenge the sufficiency of the authority of the officer in that act. When the officer writing ticket, he's supposed to have the lawful duty to be doing that. If he don't have the lawful duty to be doing that and there is no crime, then the ticket can't talk about. The ticket just have to dash away. There is no jurisdiction. There is no authority. There is no power. You can't adjudicate something that is invalid from the get-go. What you call void ab initio. Void or null from the beginning. Well, whatever business you do, it can't do upon the job. Is it? So, these are the foundational things that should be talked about first before you start talking about details of a ticket. Because if the authority never did it in the first place, the ticket itself is invalid. Yeah, just had to respond to a message there. So, again, when we talk about these traffic tickets, we're not talking about a matter of fact, we can go even deeper than that. We can go at a lower level of authority. Okay? Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. First things first. It says the police can keep watch by day and by night, right? What about when the police create a station on the side of the road? Them set up a checkpoint or them set up an office and they start conduct business right this up on the side of the road. Is that lawful? Absolutely not. There is nowhere in law that allows a police officer to set up a station on the side of the road and do anything. It's a keep watch by day and by night. Does the Constabulary Force Act, which gives the powers and duties to the police officer, does that act states that the police can stop and interrogate people? Anybody who them see? Anybody who them feel like? No. No. And no. Alright. A lot of you might be asking, what am I talking about? You can't tell police that? Of course you can. Where are we even getting the authority? Where else can we find the authority? Zin? To justify saying to an officer, officer, this is an illegal stop. What authority do you have to set up a station on the side of the road and stop me? Is there a crime that I am involved in? That you suspect me from me coming down the road? You already have flagged down my car, so you know see me in this car? What information do you have, officer, as it relates to me? Me no business about everybody else where you stop. You see, as it relates to me, where you get the information, what information you have. I don't care where you get the information. What information you have about me to suspect me of a crime. Can you explain that, please? License and registration. Good day, officer. License and registration. All right, officer. My dash camera records in. No problem. Here you go. Oh, you're one of them. You ever hear a term before? You're one of them. Go on like you don't know the whole of the law. No, officer, I know the part of the law that pertains to me. I don't know the whole of the law. See? So go on do your thing, man. You see? It is because many things are not publicized, you know. Why many people are oblivious. But you see when certain things start come to light, you soon see what really are going on. A lot of things that are not in the public's eye are slowly coming out. As them say, what is in the darkness must come to light. So I'm not keep this by myself. See? So anyways, the officer do him, do. Him say, all right, you know something? I give you a ticket for speeding, you know, because it seem like, say, you feel like, say, you're above the law. I say, no, officer, I am always within the law. I always stay within the confines of the law. If you feel that I was speeding, go ahead and do your thing. See? You know how fast you're going, officer? I am not going to answer any questions without counsel present. Okay? If you're demanding documents or demanding anything, I will give you whatever you want because you're threatening me with a gun. So that is the only reason why I stop. If you think say, if you never have a gun, would I stop? You think say, if you never have a gun, anybody would have stopped for you? You would have stand up there until you're rotten. Okay? Anyways, moving forward. See? Where do I get this thing from? If you say, the officer can't stop you on the side of the road, can't make up a station on the side of the road, can't arbitrarily stop you. See? We had a case called Hemans versus Attorney General. See? And that case was so significant in the legal world when it comes to police and traffic that it was actually on the news at one point. See? Now, it's funny, you know, because we hear about the court cases, but you don't know the significance of them. You start figure, oh, you know, boy, the man makes so much money off of that. Ray, blah, 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 blah. But you don't realize the implications of court cases. You don't know how important they are. A court case, especially a Supreme Court case, is so significant that you can use it as an offense and a defense. What does that mean? You see, when you have a Supreme Court case and you have a traffic ticket, you can literally bring a copy of the Supreme Court case and put it on the record to say, I am relying on the Supreme Court decision in Hemans versus Attorney General that states that the police cannot arbitrarily stop anyone who is not involved in a crime or a person of interest involved in a crime. Case done. If they can't, again, that is just one avenue. But I am saying, if you don't want to have to bother with membering all of the law, them and print them out and submit paperwork and blah, blah, blah. You said, Judge, I am relying on Hemans versus Attorney General. Unless you are telling me that the Supreme Court does not have any bearing on this court. And I will accept such an answer, by the way. Because guess what? You see, I can't say certain things on the live, you know. You see, those of you who are signatories, we are going to have class on Saturday. And I'm going to get into the details of how far we can take this thing. But for those who just want to dismiss them ticket, you can just bring in Hemans versus Attorney General. No stop on the road unless they have specific information about you. That stop is illegal, unlawful, and cannot be enforced if challenged. If challenged. If you keep quiet, you cannot get justice. Did you know that? Closed mouths don't get fed. So you have to open your mouth and talk if you want to exercise your rights. Or you can become a signatory. Talk about this many times. For those of you who don't realize, your rights are on pause. Your rights are in reserve. What does that mean? It ain't one bucket one side. If you don't activate your rights, if you don't become a signatory, or if you don't do it on your own and activate your rights in the public, you always have to go through the court process and I try to haggle with them. I try to build a proper case. I try to learn every single terminology I can. I try to go through the legal dictionaries. I try to go through court cases and all these things. That is why you have to go through these processes. This is why an attorney representing you is essential when you start talking about all of these different things, because you don't have no rights until you invoke them. The court is not a place where you can go and go try out things. If you don't make your rights known, if you don't let the court know, you are acting on your rights. You have always been acting on your rights. You have always invoked or used your rights. If you don't know how to put them something together, guess what? Them are going to name you up. And enough of you are victim to this already. Right? You go in a court and then all kind of things happen. You feel like you have it, you know. You have all the evidence. You go in there and you still lose. Why? You did not properly present your case legally. Not lawfully, you know. Because if we were going by the law, we wouldn't need attorneys. The court would simply hear both parties and rule based on the evidence. Today, we don't have that. What we have is what? Statutes and codes, statutes and rules. So, if you don't follow the rules, guess what? Your case don't even get heard. If you don't present your case in legalese, your case don't even get heard properly. So this is why I tell you guys, become a signatory. Go to voiceofjamaica.com. Click on support a portal and start learning why you need certain information if you want to protect yourself and also protect your family. You see? So anyways, let us continue because we're not finished on the point here yet. So we talk about corpus delicti, we talk about mens rea, and we talk about actus reus. Those three Latin terms. Corpus delicti, which is the body of the crime. Mens rea, guilty mind. Actus reus, guilty act. So you need the evidence, you need the act, and you need the intent to constitute a crime. If you don't have those three elements, you cannot be convicted of a crime. But again, you have to know that the elements exist. And you also have to know that you have to raise that contention. So you can literally even go into traffic court and you say, Judge, I see no evidence here to support the fact that a crime exists because a crime has elements that needs to be met. Where is the evidence to support that a crime has actually been committed? And what happened? The burden of proof is now on the prosecution to prove that a crime occurred. Them can't just say, I want crime. This is a crime. It no works so. You have to prove it in a law. What you say, you have to prove. You can't just come talk off your face and feel like say you're going to get away with it. Not with this kind of knowledge. No. No. That might work for you in the past because people have been silent or they don't know what to say. But once you state, Honorable Judge, it appears that no evidence has been presented to establish mens rea, actus reus, and corpus delicti. Where is the evidence for the record, Judge? Now, when time I tell you, I said, don't talk to the police, you think a joke me I make. Now, answer no question. A matter of fact, don't try the little something them want to see on the internet, but, you know, even if you ask about, is there a crime? It don't make no sense. When you know this, the more you know, the less you talk. The less you talk, the more you win. I told you guys this before. Even if you don't say anything, the officer still have to prove it. Let me say that again. Even if you don't say anything to the officer and he write you a ticket, once you challenge that ticket, the officer now has to prove that a crime has been committed. A crime is an offense. We went over that already. So don't be tricked by the term offense. An offense still means crime. Okay? So let us continue to qualify what we're saying. Okay, so let's go back over to the computer. Zin? Alright. So, alright, we're gonna go from stage to stage, we're gonna go. Zin? So, this is, let me go back up to the top so that we can talk in context. This is a case, an English case, right? And exactly, Kimar, exactly. What am I telling you to say? Don't argue with the officer on the side of the road. All right, so this is a case between two people, right? Appellants and respondents. So this is an appealed case. When you say appellants, that means that the case was appealed to this court. And when you see House of Lords, that means one higher court. Zin? So, if we look up the term mens rea, right? Sorry. If we look up the term mens rea, in this case, and if you're on the internet and you want to search within a document, because sometimes it never makes sense you try to read through the whole thing. Sometimes you just want to search for a specific element or a specific keyword. So you can just right click. Let me see if it have find it. No. You can do Control F. So CTRL and F on the keyboard, and it bring up the find menu, right? And you can type in whatever you want to search the entire document instead of you trying to read the whole thing. You can just search for that element. So in this case, we search for mens, right? So let us read the section that encompasses mens rea. It says, "My lords, I think it would have been satisfactory to have had a more minute and exact account of how this prospectus was framed, the actual evidence of the draftsman of it, and the discussions which took place upon the alteration in form, which alteration gave such marked and peculiar prominence to the special feature of this peculiar tramway in respect of the possession of power to use steam." So we're talking about a tram or a train and a steam engine. "Nevertheless, if, as I have said, the facts are reconcilable with the innocence of the directors and with the absence of the mens rea, which I consider an essential condition of an action for deceit, the mere fact of the inaccuracy of the statement ought not to be pressed into constituting a liability which appears to me not to exist according to English law." What did this just say? This is saying that with the absence of mens rea, a guilty mind, someone intentionally doing something, a liability does not appear to exist. Exactly. It did not meet the criteria for constituting a crime. Let us continue. Let's go to another case and let's search for the same thing. All right. So here we have two hits for that term, right? Let's go back up to the top first. This is a case, Regina Ha versus Secretary of State for Home Department and another. And this is a 2006 case, Queen's Bench Division of Court, right? This is a claim for judicial review. So this is a an appealed case again to a higher court. Right? So here we have a section. And let us read the section in context. I know it is a bit small for you guys, and unfortunately, let me see if we can zoom it in. Okay, so I can zoom it. All right. So that we can all read together, though. So I don't know if you take my word for it. All right. So we're at paragraph 65. Zin? Lawfully. I am encouraged that this is the correct approach to present problem by a passage in the speech of Lord Reid in R versus Warner, reference to which in one of the cases cited to us was noted by my Lord Simon J. in the course of argument. In that case, their lordships were concerned with the construction of an Act of Parliament, which, according to its natural language, imposed strict liability for a criminal offense. Does that sound familiar? Let us continue. Lord Reid was prepared to contemplate for the future an exception to the then general rule that the courts would not go behind the natural wording of an enactment. The exception envisaged was to enable courts to go behind the wording of the legislation to see whether Parliament had been informed that the intention of the drafting was to negative the usual principle that mens rea, or guilty mind, is a necessary element in every criminal offense. We are talking about presidential cases in the lawful realm, where we're talking about the Commonwealth jurisdiction draw a lot of the opinions from when they're making decision. Okay? So here it is showing you that when you have an Act of Parliament that is negatively affecting common law, the higher court is going to step in and say, no, you can't do that. It is a necessary element in every criminal offense. So this is a higher court in the UK, where they might tell you, say, mens rea is required in every offense, every crime that is being alleged. Mens rea affidide. All right. Let us continue. Lord Reid said, members of both houses are particularly interested in the liberty of the subject, and if it were intended by those promoting a bill to extend the old but limited class of cases in which absence of mens rea is no defense, I would certainly expect Parliament to be so informed. So what am I say? Parliament cannot claim ignorance to the fact that you need this element here, mens rea, in every single case of a criminal offense, whether it be a traffic ticket or somebody being accused of a crime. Then, if Parliament acquiesced, meaning silence means agreement. If Parliament acquiesced, those who dislike this kind of legislation would know whom to blame. This is the Supreme Court or the higher court taunting Parliament. They must say, if you don't feel like say, you don't dislike what we are say, come in the Supreme Court can talk, no? Come in the higher court can say so. Those who dislike this kind of legislation would know whom to blame. Because they know say nobody in their right mind can come in, they can talk about common law. Can be undermined. When we talk about the requirements. Listen, man. But if the words of the Act are not crystal clear and Parliament has not been told of this intention, I would hold without hesitation that it would be wrong to impute to Parliament an intention to depart from its known desire to prevent innocent persons from being convicted. Mic drop. Mic drop. We now ask. This is law. This is common law. This cannot be overlooked when we talk about higher courts making decisions to put the lower courts in them place. Okay? This right here, so you can print out that page and carry a quote. And the requirements of a crime cannot be overlooked. All right. Here is another case. You see, I am showing you guys that we not talk because the mouth cut sideways, you know. We are talk because we have evidence can back up what we are say. You see it? We not depend on the bag of talking and can't prove anything. So when time we say the elements of a crime must be met, we not talk about theory. We are talking about actual reality. Damian Brown, go on ahead. Say I have a question. So let's in this one look up corpus delicti. Exactly. So let us qualify again what we've been talking about. And let us read from, this is, all right, it's not too far up. So let us read from here, so up here, so. In the highest crime known to the law, treason, you act upon presumption, on proof of rebellion or the endeavor to excite rebellion, you presume an intent to kill the king. Excuse my language, but I am just reading. This is a case. Kimari, I'm going to share the cases in Telegram when I'm done. So you can actually go take a look at it as well. In homicide, upon proof of the fact of unaliving, you presume the malice necessary to constitute unaliving and put it on the prisoner by extracting facts in what? Cross-examination. Let me say that again. Let me read that section for you, for those of you who don't realize what's going on. In unaliving, upon proof of the fact of unaliving, right? So first you have to prove that someone was unalived, right? You presume the malice necessary to constitute unaliving. What is the malice? Mens rea. You have to prove a guilty mind, don't? All right, but me soon get to something in a minute, you know. You need the malice necessary to constitute the unaliving and put it on the prisoner. And how do you put it on the prisoner? By extracting facts in cross-examination or by direct testimony to lower his offense to manslaughter or justifiable unaliving. In burglary and highway robbery, if a person is found in possession of the goods recently after the crime, you presume the possessor guilty unless he can account for the possession. In the case of a libel, which is charged to be written with a particular intent, if the libel is calculated to produce the effect charged to be intended, you presume the intent. It therefore appears to me quite absurd to state that we are not to act upon presumption until it pleases Providence to give us means beyond those our present faculties afford of knowing things done in secret. We must act on presumptive proof. You see what it says? Presumptive proof. Or leave the worst crimes unpunished. I admit where presumption is attempted to be raised as to the corpus delicti, that is ought to be strong and cogent. But in a part of the case relating merely to the question of venue, leaving the body of the offense untouched, I would act on as slight grounds of presumption as would satisfy me in the most trifling cause that can be tried in Westminster Hall. What does all this mean? This means that where they are using presumptions as it relates to corpus delicti, the court itself is saying that that presumption must be strong and cogent. It must be unequivocal. It must be something that when it is explained, if you don't have the evidence, all of the facts put together must make up something strong in position to say that yes, this is what constitutes the body of the crime. But here is an interesting tidbit. Did you know that if you are being cross-examined, you can use the protections in the Constitution to remain silent under the defense of self-incrimination? So if you cannot be cross-examined, guess what? The prosecution now has to do their work and prove the crime. The crime can no longer be proven based on your testimony. But here is the problem now. Let me turn it around for that one here. I have to turn around the camera for that one here. For the people in the back and the people who keep on asking me questions about crimes. I am not a criminal attorney. I am not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not providing legal advice. I just know some of these things, okay? I study. You can study too. You can learn on this page. Now, here's the thing. If you are accused of a crime and you get an attorney, remember, you know, an attorney is an officer of the court. If you didn't know, now you know. An attorney is an officer of the court. Okay? A police officer is an officer of the court. That's where the police gets most of its powers from. Now, let me tell you this. If you have an attorney, the attorney cannot refuse to have you testify. He can try. But it is not going to be in your best interest if you have an attorney and don't testify. Because when the time comes around, we can't even get into some of these details. You have to be congruent enough to direct the attorney to let them know you will not testify against yourself. Let me say that again. If you don't know these things, your attorney will let you go up there on the stand and incriminate yourself because the court is going to consider your testimony as a part of the prosecution. Let us qualify our statements again. What we say? Lawful around here. We don't talk out of the side of our mouth just because we want to talk. So we are going to bring up the Jamaica Constitution, aka the Order in Council 1962. Going to go to chapter 3, section 16, due process. So let us go back to the computer. Is it in? All right. So let me point out something first. This is section 16, right? And it states in section 5 what? Every person charged with a criminal offense shall be presumed innocent until he is proved guilty or has pled guilty. You see this little bit of term right here, so I say or has pled guilty. How can you plead guilty without the crime being established? You chat too much. That is how you plead guilty. Just keep on a chat and a try explain. That is how a lot of people get convicted. then keep on talk and talk and talk and talk. So this is an either or, you know. Either or. Either you presume innocent or you chat until them convict you. So you have an option here. Okay? In addition, let us go to section F. So this is 16.6F. What does it say? See if we can zoom in a little bit. It's a little bit crumped up. Let's see if we can get it straightened out. Order in Council 1962, aka the Jamaica Constitution. Section 16.6F says what? Every person charged with a criminal offense shall, F, not be compelled to testify against himself or to make any statement amounting to a confession or admission of guilt, and, except with his own consent, not be tried in his absence. When time I tell you, say, go and go read the relevant section of the Constitution, it is not for my benefit. Me already know them something already. Okay? So this is what you call homework. If you want this specific version, this specific document that we're looking at, matter of fact, I'm going to bring it up on the screen for now. You go to Constitute Project.org. Here you have the website, constituteproject.org. You scroll down. Hold on, no. Up on the top you have a menu. See the menu here? On the computer, you'll probably just see the menu. You click on Constitution in the menu. You click on J for Jamaica. See Jamaica one right there? You do not click on this. I mean, some of them already watch this replay and just click on it. You don't click on this. You go over to the download PDF option. And when you download the PDF option, here we have the version that I'm looking at. Okay? Exactly. User 406. Sometimes they tell you anything you say can and will be used against you. Sometimes they tell you, sometimes they don't. It is up to you to know these things, so you can raise your defenses on the record. Okay? So how did we end up here? How the heck did we end up here? This is where we started. For those of you who are just joining the class. See it? We started with the Constabulary Force Act Section 13, which talks about the powers and duties of the force, right? And then we qualified all of our statements by not only going to the lawful sections, not only going to the Constitution, but also going to the higher courts that have made presidential rulings regarding the elements of a crime. Because when we get a ticket, what is happening is this: we are being criminally convicted of a crime. And because we don't know, we go along with the conviction. And then later on, after we're convicted now, we start complaining and complaining without knowing where to turn or what to do. Right? So, we're going to open up the floor for those who would like to come up and ask questions, have emotional outbursts, or whatever you want to add. What go on first? William, first gen air conditioning. What go on? First gen. Big up yourself. What go on?
Every day a little to talk and thing, you know.
Okay, okay. You have a question or anything?
No, we just go listening from what you discuss.
Okay, okay.
Information from solid.
Yeah, man, big up.
My question, we made a type in a box, but it never so long enough so I could have type out everything because me just said I wonder.
Yes.
A pass is something that you carry for sure for gain probably access or something like that by my understanding. That's my version of way me think a pass is, right? And in the constitution if the if a person is allowed to travel freely through Jamaica without carrying a pass, isn't the driver's license used as a pass based on these vehicular checkpoint where you just be arbitrarily stopped just to show your driver's license in order to pass to go about your lawful business?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it has been proven in the Supreme Court as well.
Okay, that was my question because me often just a wonder and I think wouldn't that be some form of the same thing as the whole pass thing?
All right. Stay right there. Make we bring up Hemans versus Attorney General. See? And I go to section what, 58? Paragraph 58. Or 56. Let's see. Alright. The same exact thing we just asked about a while ago. Now I go read here what the judge say. The reasonable cause to suspect that an individual has or is about to commit a crime must relate to peculiar characteristics of the persons or the vehicle he is driving or the manner in which it is operated or to information received. So this is the same thing we just talked about in the Constabulary Force Act. In Jamaica, the citizen is free to move about without an obligation to carry a pass and is not to be subject to arbitrary or random search. This is still a constitutional guarantee. And this is a senior judge that made a ruling. Even though this is an opinion on the matter, it is still carrying heavy weight. This cannot be dismissed. And this can be used as a defense. This is Hemans versus Attorney General, and this is paragraph 58 if you want the exact section. So you can go on the Supreme Court website, or you can join the Telegram group and it's in there.
I didn't mean a Telegram group, man. You know, some of the time they work and
Yeah.
you know long 12 hours and them thing there some of the time. You know, because even reading some of the thing them, I think I in the constabulary force. I don't remember which section or subsection, but I think you don't know where it speaks about the power to stop and search. And may often hear police even use the constabulary force act to stop people and so forth. But there's the same section may tell you about the stop and search. My thing with that
19, see it, yeah?
yeah, my thing with that is I often see the police and some persons of the public emphasize about the search. So me always have the question, what happened about the stop? Because each time I hear that something there's like almost everybody just want to breeze over the stop and emphasize about the search. But
Right.
you have to stop the person in order to search them. So them want like it's just the stop is justified, but the search now is where them have to have legal grounds. But in my opinion, I would have said no to everything because it's written right there. To stop and search. To stop that from this and search. But some persons just blew over the stop part and emphasize about the search part. So that are my next thing what I always look into. And always, you know, always seek information about. But a lot of the time, some of the time, the information and the things are right in front of our eyes and we read
Right.
them and some of the time we interpret it right, and then some persons with them doctrines of speaking throw away off, but the information is right in front of our eyes. But I
Right.
just them two things that, as what I say, the stop and search part, and that is all complete within the stop and search. So
Right. So again, we are not saying that the police should not be stopping anybody. Let me make that clear.
right,
All of the laws that are in place, let's say the police is saying that under Section 19 of the Constabulary Force Act, you see what it say over here, so? Powers to stop and search vehicles, right?
mm-hmm.
All right. Now, here with me now. Here with me. Watch out now. Let us read what it says. It shall be lawful for any constable without warrant to stop any vehicle do what? Suspected to be carrying stolen goods, drugs, or any other dangerous or prohibited, etc., etc. Or any paper, ticket, or token related to any game, etc. All right. So how can you suspect a moving car on the road? That me want to know. How, if you don't have information related to one specific car, where in the law does it say you can stop any vehicle? Because it's saying specifically, you have to suspect it to be carrying stolen goods. So how can you suspect something without information? So, but again, I tell people all the time, the side of the road is not where you exercise your rights. Because you don't want a contend with an officer if him stop you and I try say whatever, right? Let the officer do him job. If him feel like say him need to stop you, investigate, do a search. Don't stand up in the officer way blocking the officer or impede whatever he's doing. Let the officer do his duty. You just have to know what you do after that. The only sheriff says, what if you got a tip? You mean what if the officer got a tip? That is still information that has to be written down. Then, you need information to suspect something, or you need to see it. You cannot just go on a hunch. You can't say, oh, it look like say maybe something might have gone here. So that doesn't work in law. You have to, you see the same way when I show you everything what I talk about, and the same thing the officers are supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be able to show their mens rea, actus reus, and corpus delicti. They can't go on a hunch. They have to go on a crime. It has to be related to a crime. Nothing can happen without a crime with a police officer. Case closed. But you have to know them things before. You can't rely upon the fact say just because the law is there, nobody's gonna break it. Including public officials or public servants. Because we see it happen all the time.
Every time it happens, and these sessions are very good for persons to learn these things for themselves. And I encourage everybody, even myself, read the Constitution and try to memorize and learn from it. I understand? Because that's the only way a person would know their rights that should be protected by the Constitution. I understand? Because me even have a running one time with some police officer come home, and I don't know them police are there the exact same place every day and every night. The amount of time where them stop me just to check my documents and me show them the one documents over. Me get stopped already about 4 times in a one day, right in the same vicinity. Me get stopped here, so I grow on this and me get stopped. Me I come back.
So hold there. You have a dash cam?
No, me never something there. Me had one. Me had one. Me had one. I try to show you. I even remember one night me I travel and I same place the police them them there. I'm a slow down. I'm a wind down. My all four window them. And may I drive past. And I think our district constable lady said to me, say, good night, sir. I said, good night, ma'am. She said, what is your name? So, oh, my name is Damien. She said, Damien, what? I said, isn't that kind of personal? I don't know you like that for just tell you my government name out just like that. Sir, pull to the side and provide me with your vehicle document. Pull to the side and step out of the vehicle with your vehicle documents and your driver's license. So I pull over and I sit down in my car and she come over there. Sir, step out of the vehicle with the driver's license. And I ask her what the reason for the stop. Oh, under the road traffic act we can stop. But you see, because the night they me go pick up my girlfriend from work, we just never have the time for waste. Alright. Just give them the driver's license, vehicle document, and she tell me say, oh, me need to go read. But just let me know say, hey, all of this one I do and knowledge what I already have and know. Because I go through certain system and I learn. You understand? Yeah. Just because I don't have the time now to go sit down about half an hour, 20 minutes. I don't have to go call some supervisor because you know this thing I go call a sergeant or a corporal or somebody over you know. I just never have the time for that. Because what you do right now, you're violating a lot of rights. First of all, you're arbitrary stop, you're breach the constitution of freely travel. Second of all, privacy. You ask me my name and I tell you my first name out of courtesy. And now you have a driver's license for my full name, but also have my TRN on it, my address and certain things that are private. And may not conduct business, so me just give you these information. So that's a violation. If you look for me good. Me say have a good night and me just drive off.
You see, a lot of the times, you know, they might tell people say comply. Right? And while that is the easiest way to do things, you know, because like me say, sometimes you argue with them will just spite you and just have you detained on the side of the road for no reason. Then them stretch out the time, them put you aside, them make you wait, tell about them investigate and do all kind of stuff, whatever, and then they make you go on. Then, but again, when you start telling them, say, listen, they give me a ticket and go on my ways. Because once them issue a ticket, they mean a problem. Because the first instance of it, illegal. It is unlawful. You cannot create a station on the side of the road. And if you don't already have information related to me or my car, you're not supposed to stop me in the first place.
Exactly.
You can't stop me and ask me for documents and me a criminal. I am not a person of interest. So why are you stopping me in the first place? Oh, we suspect this look like a car that may be carrying stolen goods. All right, do we have to do? So that's why I say don't even argue. You get me? I say? Tell them, so listen, give me a ticket or let me go my way, please. I don't answer questions without counsel present. You're done. So where you're coming from? I don't answer questions without counsel present. Case closed. Hey Johnson, what go on?
Yes, sir. What's going on? Hey, guys. Hello, everybody. So you brought up a point with humans there, but when I say, boy, that means the part I act when I say you can't, if them catch you without a license, a driver's license on the road, them can charge you how much money. That don't make no sense then because them have no rules.
Yeah, but that is a money making thing, you know. If they don't charge you, how are they gonna make money?
Yeah. But the fact that you don't need documentation like that, you say, I mean, you can just travel so on. So if you have if you don't have a driver's license, and it shouldn't be a problem anyway, isn't it?
That is 100% true. But guess what?
Okay.
They are still going to pursue the same thing because it is lucrative.
Yeah, I know. So you will have to do that in a court, but by law, it's not lawful. It might be legal, but not lawful.
Now, you ask that question there, let me show you something. Road Traffic Act of 2018. Then,
Mm.
and we're gonna look up for your driver license part there. Think of section.
Our 20.
I thought so. Up to 21. Let's look at 21. Right? 15, 21. So this is the Road Traffic Act 2018, section 21. What does it say? Every person who is what? Desirous of obtaining a learner permit or a license. So it never say every person who must, or everybody must or shall get a driver license, It say who is desirous of obtaining one.
Exactly. A desire is not a must.
Okay. So that means that I have discretion as a private individual to not have a driver's license and to not be subjected to these rules.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. So this driver's license now, what they're claiming is a permit or a license, right?
Mhm.
Now, what is a license? What is a license? And we went over this again before, right?
Okay.
Let us take a look at what is a license in the law, legal definition. Got legal, we got license. License, okay. I would like to qualify what we're talking about,
Right.
A license, a permission, usually revocable, to commit some act that would otherwise be unlawful.
Yeah.
Notice it say, a
And it is not
permission.
unlawful to travel because you have the right to travel.
So if you have the right to travel under the Constitution, how does this right now become requiring a license?
Unlawful. Yeah, it don't make any sense.
And look here, not only is it requiring permission, it says a permission that is revocable, meaning they can take it away whenever they want to.
Exactly.
And the license is supposed to allow you to commit some act that would otherwise be unlawful. So the license is allowing you to do some unlawful act.
Yeah.
An agreement not amounting to a lease or profit, apprende, that it is lawful for the licensee to enter the licensor land to do some act that would otherwise be illegal, such as hunting game. So this is an example right here, right?
Right.
So let me ask you a question. So that means that driving is illegal.
Based on this, yeah.
So if driving is illegal, why is the government licensing the ability
Do
to
illegal.
drive and do something illegal?
Exactly.
So that means, listen, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but that would
Yeah.
that would appear to be inciting criminal activity.
Exactly.
So like I said, I am not going to put words in anybody's mouth. I am just reading the definition and looking at what it actually says. This is what's called the plain language of the definition.
Okay.
And you can bring this into court and you can ask the same questions.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, a driver's license is not required. It is plainly stated here that only
Yes.
if you are desirous of getting it.
Exactly.
Exactly. So again, you have many avenues where you can attack these things from. You just have to know first that you have these avenues that you can take.
Right.
If you don't take the time to learn these things, You won't have you won't have that kind of defense.
Yeah.
So this is why we have to be knowledgeable. We can't just rely upon just our layman's understanding of things. We have to look up things and know exactly what we're talking about and how important it is.
True.
And preparing them and bringing them to court. Because I remember my first court running when I have with a traffic ticket, where when the judge have the, I don't know if them are the court clerk or them person they will read out the so-called offense of the traffic ticket and then ask me how me plead. And before me plead, I let them know, Your Honor, I have a preliminary objection. Them say, no, you can't object, you only can plead guilty or not guilty. And I ask them, what am I pleading guilty or not guilty to? Where was the offense? So him read out section 20. We never have whole heap of understanding as we may have now.
Yes.
So him read out section 20 to me. And the first thing when we used back then was the Hemans versus Attorney General. And him did say something another and with the plea not guilty. And the judge himself I said, if me go a trial, it could be a different judge and not him. And there's a strong possibility me would lose this case. And then allow me to re-plead. You understand? And I remember I spoke with somebody else. I go call him because I don't know if you want me to do that. But I spoke with somebody else who have knowledge, dates and this and had the same thing the person does what you just do. Laugh. And said this is just a dark court. And when you go there, so when you know something, and especially when you have court cases or you have the law or the constitution to back you have to stand by that. You understand? So if it's a trial, bring it to a trial.
Exactly.
So when you can say you're gonna stand on the rulings of David Batts and the Heman versus
Attorney
General. You understand? So it can't be misleading. So when you stand on your rights according to section XYZ or court case of this, that, or the Constabulary Force Act section, this subsection that, you and I stand on these XYZ. You know, they only can bully you when you're not sure and then say you're unsure about certain things and you're iffy and butty.
Exactly.
You're about what you're speaking about. So this is how I lose my first court case. But I smile and I laugh. You understand? Some of the time when they stop me again and I tell me about license and registration, some of the time I don't have the time for them, so I just give them.
Right.
Some of the time I ask them, good evening, sir, officers, what's the reason for the stop? Oh, and this is what them always say. Under the Road Traffic Act, under the Pre-Deal Last Act, under the JCF Act. I say, yeah, but these are all acts. You're going to stop me based on every single thing under the act, or it's a specific section that I am violating and you're stopping me based on that. Because if you're going to stop me under the Pre-Deal Last Act, that can constitute a search, and then you'd have to suspect me of a crime in order to say, all right, you're going to now search the vehicle. Can't just stop me and you look and you ask me some question and because me not answer this now give you the grounds to say, all right, then well based on oh yeah, me go just search the vehicle because of XYZ. No, I get enough grounds. I can resist the police as long as it's without force. Right? And I don't have to answer any of your questions. If I'm not lawfully or by court order to. I don't have to answer anything where you ask me. Just let you know that, listen, I stand on my rights to remain silent.
Right.
But everybody who up on the live, trust me, these are valuable information and it's nothing hiding. You can find them on any public platform. You can read them for yourself. They are there. And like the last time I did it on the live and what other police officers said driving is a privilege and this change and all me ask, as well as the host of the ask, then where is this publicly? This information is publicly accessible, so we can go and read these things to know. Then, oh, all right, driving is actually really a privilege, and this is that, and that is that. All of these things are just a big speech put together to try to tell you this and try to tell you that. But there's nothing legally to back all of that with them. I say, I've not yet seen it. That's all I would say. I'm not saying it's not there, but I've not yet seen that.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing, a lot of times you will hear people come about trying to convince you of things and don't have no evidence of it.
All right, that person here just said the best. It is lawful for the police to stop a motorist and request their license and motor vehicle documents without an offense. I'll ask that question. So he can just randomly stop you at any time he feels like and just request your driver's license and your vehicle documents.
And if it is in relation to a crime, yes, they can stop you and do whatever to apprehend you and bring you in front of a judge. But if it is not in relation to a crime that they already know, then the answer is no, absolutely not.
A lot of person just like that same person. Oh, he's asking the question. I think the host just answer the question.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, because lawfully, without an offense, you are freely to travel. Um, with lawfully, if there's no offense, police. I'm not gonna say them can, but I think it's not supposed to just arbitrarily stop you without any offense, right? Once they do that without an offense, then I would say that that conversation that you're having right there is just what would I say, basically a conversation because police can stop you, right? And you are to stop because if you drive off, you can presume guilty of something. So a police officer can stop you. Because you don't know if they're going to stop you if you say, all right, you can't go up the road because there's a roadblock up there and, police and other people in a dispute, whatever, it's not safe to go that way. They are, Mr. So-and-so, we receive valuable information about a threat about your life. We're advising you not to go XYZ. So you don't know why they're stopping you. So you have to stop once they stop you. However, after they stop you, it is within legal rights that they let you know the reason why they're stopping you. It's not just stop you, come up, constable XYZ attached to XYZ UATT doing vehicle safety check. Can you provide me the vehicle documents and your driver's license? Like, no. What's the offense? Should be Officer XYZ UATT. The reason why we stop you is because you just run that stop line. Or you just run through that stop sign without stopping. Stop sign, you should come to a complete stop or something.
Hold on a second there. King say, is there a standard method for constitutional guarantees to be recognized by officials? King, that was a funny question, but the short answer is no. That is the short answer. The long answer is
My name is Conquest. And why is that? Because remember, the police officers should work in like hand to hand, like know the constitution, but it seems like they are learning the
no.
act and the policy of the police force, not the constitution.
That's not true. That's not true. What section of law?
In place.
What section of law states that the police should or must adhere to the Constitution?
Why when a person says they are not driving, they are traveling, there is a breach of their constitutional rights within the process of a police pull them over.
Well, I don't know why they say that, because there is no such thing as a constitutional right. The Constitution don't have a section that states that these rights are hereby granted to whoever. It simply states protections of the rights.
Oh, so basically it's just an order in council that lead by parliament then.
Let us go back up here, so. Let us go back up so we qualify what we are saying, right? Section 3. Section 3 is the chapter on fundamental rights and freedoms, right? So all we are seeing here are protections. Let's look at fundamental rights and freedoms. It is saying that you should have respect and promote human rights, right? But nothing in here is granting any rights. It is not saying that you are hereby entitled to these rights, you are hereby given these rights, you are hereby bestowed upon to get these rights, nothing like that. So when someone says, I have a constitutional right to freedom of movement, that is legally erroneous. That is a material falsity, because you can't say you have a constitutional right because the Constitution didn't have any right in the first place for you to get.
Okay, so basically then this is just like an order then from the king or the queen to the Jamaican or to the 64 Caribbean territories that they have under control then. It's just a pass down message for you how to govern your country, right? Is it so?
Good question. The Constitution is actually there for Parliament. All of the bodies of government.
For the people, for the parliament.
These are confines, these are restrictions for the arms of government to not overreach onto the people. So this is why them say these are protections. Because them know say over time it has been proven that public officials or public servants will feel that they are more intelligent and more deserving than the regular people, and they start abusing everybody.
Right. So what's inside of this like shows that when time we are traveling or when we are driving and they stop us and we said we are not giving you our ID because they don't have a probable cause, and they breach our, and it's like they arrest us just because we're not providing that information to them. What should we do in that process? Because it seems like we don't have any freedom of speech or freedom of rights.
Well, first things first, like I said many times, you don't argue with the police and you don't stop them from doing whatever they want to do. You need to have a dash cam. If you don't have a dash cam, it is your word against them. Right? So when you have a dash cam, you have the evidence to show that there was a stop. Number two, you had rights that you were exercising that were being abridged or violated. And number three, you were not involved in a crime. Once you can establish those things, then you can move forward with your prosecution. But all roads are going to lead back to the court. You cannot exercise your right on the side of the road. So if you stand up there, argue with the officer, I say, whatever people say, whatever people they're talking about, it is not going to help unless you are legally astute and you know how to speak legalese. And even so, it is still not guaranteed that the officer is going to even listen to anything what you say. So at the end of the day, the best thing for you to do is gather your own evidence, and when the time comes, you present your case, you get your case dismissed, and then if that was me, I would file a tort claim after that case is dismissed. because that is it's not even bordering, that is no malicious prosecution. Because again, if there is no crime, the officer is not supposed to be out there in the first place.
So that's one part. But I heard that like if they detain you or say you're driving or you're traveling and they stop you for more than 15 minutes without giving any probable cause, they are liable to 600,000 fine or 6 months in prison. Is that a fact?
Well, anything can be in the legislation, you know. If you're talking about the Road Traffic Act, yeah, there are specific things in there that say that you are liable for the fine and this and that and whatever. But at the end of the day, you can't talk about that without first find out, did the officer have the power in the first place or the duty to do that? So it is not a matter of whether or not, you know, the officer can stop you for 10 or 15 minutes or whatever. Can he stop you in the first place? That is the first question. If you can't pass that question, we can't talk about nothing else.
And they would ask for your ID and this and try to find something around
Right.
the vehicle to try put towards if they said you should, they're demanding this from you. So
So
should
give them
they
it.
demand stuff or should they ask?
So
Or should they
it don't matter.
require?
It don't matter. If they ask for something, just give it to them. If you don't give it to them, what can happen? Then get hostile with you. Them try keep you for your hour up on the side of the road. Them ask you one heap of question. Them start search you. Them start accuse you of many different things. Them ask you one bag of question. Why go through all of that and still get a ticket? It just don't make no sense. You cannot assert your right on the side of the road. You assert your rights after all of that is done and you file your case. The only thing I would suggest anybody do if you're going to talk to them, you just say, officer, or you can say, constable, what is your name and your badge number, please? That's it. Me don't recommend nobody talk to the police officer beyond that. It is usually not a winning scenario. And for the individual who was asking before, what can we do to let the officers them adhere to or be in alignment with the law? Well, first thing first, you can't make the officer them do anything. That's the first thing. But guess what? If and when an officer does something that violates your rights, this is why we have this website called voiceofjamaica.com. If you become a signatory, you now become a part of what is called Rights Activation Public Notice. So if you click on Support a Portal on the website, you can get more information on what exactly I'm talking about. We're not going to go into details because many times after I explain this thing, people don't even go in here and read anything. Okay? But you can click on the public notice right here, Rights Activation Public Notice. And you can scroll down and you can see what rights we're talking about, what exactly are we activating, what language is in there, what exactly this document is doing. And as you can see here, we have many signatories so far. Many people have signed and we are growing. So if you want to activate your rights and stop arguing with the police and learn exactly what you can do, then you can become a signatory as well by filling out the form on the Supporter portal. The form is right there. It's very short. You just ask for your first name and your last initial, last for your TRN and your email. That's it. You get an agreement, you sign it, and you become a signatory. It's that simple. If you don't want to become a
And
signatory, that's fine. You can continue arguing with the police or try to find some ways to beat the tickets. But most of the time you do that, you don't have any gain, right? Signatories are going to change that game. So this is why we have the voiceofjamaica.com. So you can know exactly what your rights are, how you assert your rights, and it is not on the side of the road. The side of the road is not where you assert any rights. You activate them publicly before you get approached by the officer.
you have a verbal contract then, either cause what if you don't want to speak to the police officer, you just want to go on your way because you know that you're not wrong? What would take place there?
Yeah, you tell the officer, I do not wish to answer any question without counsel present. Him still gonna ask you for your documents, you give me documents then, but he can't ask you no question. He say, officer, I don't wish to answer any questions without counsel present. I don't want to incriminate myself. And you're done.
But if he persist and consistently asking a question, you just keep silent.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't have to talk.
And you'd have to repeat what you just said. Once you repeat that what the host just said, because that's a part of your rights also. You don't have to incriminate yourself, you don't have to answer questions. If you are not legally bound to by, I wouldn't even know if it's the court or whatever. But on the side of the road, those are just random questions. Right? Even if it's the so-called traffic violation, yeah, what they're supposed to do, documents, write your ticket. Where you come from, where you go, what you're about to do, all of that is your personal business and have nothing to do with the officer.
Exactly.
Okay then, thanks very much. I've been going down now because my background is getting noisy. Thanks very much.
Yeah, man, big up yourself.
Alright, so manners and respect.
Yeah,
Eagle Eye is here.
yeah
Big
man,
up,
what
big up
on?
yourself, bossy. You know, I left work 5 o'clock and I come in about after 6, so I come in a little bit late. But the time when I come in, I come on the live, I heard they were speaking about cross examination and incriminate yourself. So is it a case where you could just give me a little rundown back where you were talking initially when everything started, please? Because I never did catch up at me.
Okay. So we're talking about a case, a court case where the judge was explaining that in order for any criminal, excuse me, in order for any criminal offense to be established, the prosecution must be able to prove mens rea, which is the guilty mind. Damien, mute your mic for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. In order to establish a crime, you have to have what's called mens rea, which is a guilty mind. So, a part of the prosecution tactic. Look like he might get a call. Man, wait till him. See if we can give him a few seconds. Yeah. So, a part of the prosecution's tactic is to ask you questions under cross-examination. They try to put you on the stand and ask you questions. So what I was saying was that you don't have to submit yourself to cross-examination. You can claim the right under the Constitution, the protection under the Constitution of a defense against self-incrimination. So if they ask you to go up on the stand, you can say, under the Constitution, section 16, I am hereby invoking my right not to be self-incriminated or not to say anything that can amount to a confession. And that's it. Then can't force you to go up there, then can't say it is required. Because the Constitution itself tells you, say, you have a protection from self-incrimination. So now the prosecution will now have to prove how you had the intent to go do something. They will also have to prove, again, you have to bring up the elements of a crime. If you don't bring these things up, it is going to be assumed that you accept whatever the prosecution is saying. So you have to bring up those contentions. Is there a fulfillment of the requirements of a crime? Now the prosecution have to prove them case. Then can't rely upon what you say. This is also why I say, don't talk to the police on the side of the road, because they are going to use that against you. If the police officer say, you know how fast you go? And you say, boy, officer, you know, say me kind of go a little bit faster. You just incriminate yourself. You chat too much, the officer will use that against you. See? He can't even write it on the ticket. Admitted to going above speed limit. Over whatever. So now you don't have a defense. Or if you have a defense, it is going to be something outside of that realm. So the more you talk, the less you win. That's why I say don't talk to them. Because as much as you feel like say you can explain a case, it is not going to help.
Oh, okay. So that's why I'm not hear you after that, where you're saying that if you put yourself in that position, no, you'd have forced them to actually bring forth evidence for whatever them say you do. And if
Exactly.
they can't do that, basically they're just wasting them time.
Exactly. Because if somebody is going to accuse you of something, it is not your job to help them. That is to your detriment. So at the end of the day, if they don't have a case, them can't rely upon you to help them. You don't have no duty or no legal reason or no legal duty to help them build them case. They just use trickery to say, yes, you have to go up there and whatever, but them can't show you a law that says that.
Them always say Jamaican police, them not investigate, them intimidate. So by intimidate and say, boy, you know, so them say this and that, no. You go say, no, really, and then that, no, lead if you incriminate yourself and can turn around and use it against them.
Exactly, and them do it by trickery. Then we say, so sir, are you going to defend your rights? Or, are you going to explain that, etc., etc.? And you have to know, say, it's a mind game. Them just try to get you to talk. Once you start talk, I defend, you know. That is what you're there for in many cases. If you are not the plaintiff, you are there defending. You never really want in that situation where you are defend, but you don't know say you are defend, and now you are incriminate yourself on top of it.
And on top of that, I think the police are allowed to lie to you in order for you to confess any form of evidence you can sink yourself to. So you have to be aware and mindful of that.
Well, there is an exception to that rule. The police is allowed to lie if they have information regarding a crime. If they don't have information regarding a crime, where do they get the legal authority to use incrimination tactics or to use investigative tactics if it is not in relation to a crime? It doesn't exist. So the police officer can say that, or he thinks that him can lie in any situation, but that is not true. And you can actually use that against him. Once it is proven that no crime exists, what the officer was actually investigating, now all of the evidence turn on his back. It is now a burden on the prosecution to prove that they were not acting unlawfully. Exactly. Innocent until proven guilty. And that again is written in the Constitution. It is not something that you come up with. It's a common law exercise.
Yeah, all right. I fully understand that now. Respect.
Yeah, man, big up.
Because unto all what you just said, and me even tell persons enough of the time, if police have evidence constituting to a crime, them no need to ask no question either. You understand? Man, them no need to ask you no form of questions.
Listen.
No.
Listen to me, man. When have you seen the police knowing say you're a criminal and not come for you right away?
Come on, you not ask you no question. Lock up.
Straight. if the man they have enough information, they must stop you on the side of the road and ask you, oh, where are you coming from? Where are you going?
A early morning visit I get, man.
Brother, when I can take you up out of your bed, take you out of la la and asleep. What you talking about? So at the end of the day, if a crime has been committed and the man them a come for you, they must come for you immediately. The man they not give you no time for shuffle around and try and make up story.
No, me have some more question, but it's some more deep question. I know if I ask them, I go say, boy, we have to go wait for the advanced class or later down. So I currently just wait for the advanced class to ask a certain question because in this session, me here talk about one of them they always want to ask it as it regards to driving on the road without a license. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with fitness and all of that, insurance and all of that, you get a special plate where you put on your vehicle where police just have to just see and allow you. So maybe we talk about that, but I know probably we're not gonna go in depth as it regards to that. So just wait for the advanced class.
Okay, so yeah, I'm guessing you're already a signatory and you're part of the group and all of that.
Long time, man. No, right now I'm looking for get some of the posters.
Okay.
So we can post them into Mapen Town.
Yeah.
Me inform the group after I post it, because I post it in a day on the site. So I plan to do that.
Okay, good. Took had a question. He said, can you explain the Miranda rights? Should the police use it every time an arrest is made? Yes. Well, they don't call it Miranda rights in Jamaica. They call it the right to know why you are being charged, which is the same thing, right? If you are charged with an offense or a crime, the police is supposed to tell you why they are there, why they are apprehending you, and where they are taking you, which is supposed to be in front of a judge. If they lock you up, that is a violation of your due process protected rights. The due process rights or the Miranda rights is, the same thing in the US. So they must say, you have the right to an attorney, you have the right to remain silent, you have the, all of them like something they would them normally say. But most of the time they don't do it. Them just say, hey, we have a warrant, we come for you, and that's it. Them not answer no question and say, then we explain to you later or whatever. But they are supposed to explain all of that before they apprehend you and before they take you anywhere.
If them don't and them take you in, couldn't you use that against them?
No, you can't use that. Even if you try to use that in the court, it would have to be after you are proven innocent.
Oh, okay.
It wouldn't be before. That is not the pretext to say an arrest is unlawful. It doesn't affect the case. It only affects the case after the fact. So if you are now proven innocent, you can now use that in your tort claim to say this was a malicious prosecution, you were arrested unlawfully, you were detained, you were this, you were that, you were assaulted and battered, all kind of something. Whatever you suffered, you find the legal term for it, and you can put it in a tort claim, and you can sue who you need to sue. So, for those again who are wondering, hey, what heap of information this, so this is a good information I'm supposed to write in down and whatever. If you want the replay, you have to be a signatory. This is why we have voiceofjamaica.com. So you can go back on the website and you can watch the replays of these lives, and also you would have access to the advanced classes. We don't charge anything over here. This is not a commercial page. Everything is 100% free. But at the end of the day, for those of you who are just lurking, and we know the agents are there, but either way, this is only for individuals. This is not for agents. This is not for persons. This is for individual people of Jamaica. So if you want to become a signatory and you want to have access to this live and other lives in the future, and also be a part of the private group, where we learn deeper things. This is just scratching the surface. I'm just explaining surface material right now. Even though you might find it extremely useful in your situation, we go much deeper in the private classes. So, if you find it useful, then you can become a signatory and you can join us. So, exactly, this is not for citizens, this is for nationals. People who are entitled to this land, not those who are conferred citizenship on paper. See? So a lot of the questions, the deeper questions that people might have, I cannot explain them on TikTok because I don't want the page to go bye-bye. See? So I have to kind of restrict myself to certain information and keep it within the confines of the paradigm so that we don't get into any kind of issues. So whatever I am saying, we qualify it with valid documentation and provide legal references to what exactly we're talking about. So we don't have any opinions over here. See? So all of you out there who are reporting the page, thank you for the engagement either way, because I see the strikes. I see all of the reports that are coming in, but guess what? All of the appeals are won. Up to this date, the page has not been restricted, right? So keep up the good work, because all I am saying can be verified. Is there any advice for persons who may have warrants out for tickets issued to them in error, so they didn't actually get the ticket or can prove it? Well, I don't give advice, you know. I just give my opinion on what I would do. First thing I would do is go down to the court and try to get some more details and see if I can speak with a judge or get a case or a hearing set up. Zin? Because at the end of the day, it is the court alone, in many cases, who are going to resolve an issue like that. They can give a directive to say, hey, correct the record. A lot of time you go to even the Island Traffic Authority or you go to wherever, even the police station, they're not going to do anything. So the court is where you get your remedy. You go and you explain a situation you don't know, you haven't been aware of, any ticket being issued, and it appears there's an error in the system, and ask that the judge expunge that record or give you something in writing that you can travel with to show that you don't have a ticket. See? Why would they report the page? Well, it appears that my page and Mr. Dunn is the only page that show you actual legal information that is not restricted, and we are not practicing law. All we are doing is explaining the legality of things. What we say? Lawful around here. So if we say something, we qualify it with the substantial information behind it. We don't just come up here talking about opinions. Zin? We give you the lawful reference so that you can see for yourself. You can go find it for yourself. You can verify it for yourself. You can use the information that you learn here. Even though, again, like I said, it is very small. I mean, it is big for some people, right? But when we start talking about the totality of what is to come, this is only a small portion. See? And those who are a part of the private class can tell you. People can attest. So we soon have some testimonials coming in, but we have some other matters to take care of first before we start talking about things in the public. Zin? Yes, TikTok police, thanks for the reminder. I didn't want to lose my train of thought. People, you know, thank you for showing your appreciation, but please do not send gifts. Okay? When you send gifts, at some point TikTok is going to want me to put in banking information, and I don't want to convert this page into a commercial page, because then it is going to be subjected to different rules. Zin? So please, you can top up the live, like and share, but please don't send any gifts, because then I am going to have to shut down this page and start a different one, which I don't want to do. So it is best that you just share and top up the live. I get, you know, the appreciation with the gifts, gratitude, but I don't want it to be converted into a commercial page, because then you think this is restrictive. Then I'm going to restrict it further, to stuff that I'm speaking about. So I want to be able to talk freely and not have to confine the page.
Question.
Yeah.
The Torque claim filing, because me remember this is back when me did young. I have 2 encounters, or me remember with police officers where I end up spending the night in jail. One was sitting on my yard upon the wall, and this police officer come, I don't know, something or another, ask me my name, I tell him, ask me how him know me. I go carry me go up a station to go check me out. As when I said, I did young, so I never know much. And I end up spend, I think, the night in a holding cell. At one point, I did end up in one of the cell them with, regular jailer and thing. And then I'm relieved about a couple years after that in Montego Bay. I think the curfew thing, no, the state of emergency thing, one of them thing they did. I think it did active at one point. I remember me there out somewhere, I think Fairview side. And my girlfriend staff party and them come through them. Say close up everything, everybody pack up, state of emergency, whatever yada. And me there, them say, alright, cool. And me walk away from everybody me the one side stand up. And I think the police come near me there and I say something or another like everybody need to leave the area. So yeah, I move, alright, cool, boom, lock up me and my virgin. Grow on a station, couple police will see me know me. I say, yo, why you do around so? Because they know me work at hotel as security, plus me play football with no father. And I say, why? I don't know why I'm around here. This man just have to come in the Jeep and them say, them go talk to him and them say, why? Man say, I be backhands and tough talk. Man said that me have to tell him that police officer don't even recognize my voice, because up to now I don't even speak, let him hear. So if you put me in our room and base our voice, if you pick me out, I can guarantee him can't pick me out, because he not even know the sound of my voice. And I think over a period of time, I usually tell some police officers they spend 2 nights in a jail for nothing at all. And anytime else me I go spend no more time in a jail for nothing at all, somebody I go foot the bill. I'm going to pay for the consequences. But that's why it reached to the point where through some of the time I work and the long hours and so forth, some of the time I come in tired, there's a lot of things I missing and things, including the Voice of Jamaica sign up. Because from I see it the first time, we should have signed up on that way. Some of the time you watch some things and you go do it, but then you just get carried away by some simple things.
Yeah.
That's why I said I just want to learn the Torque claim of certain things, or may I go about to put certain things in the system based upon things where happen to me. Because even though for the time some police are ask someone say, oh, so you look so nervous, why you are sweat? Or what the problem? Yes, because we have trauma dealing with certain police, right? And then we don't know who is who, so that trauma follows every time. Then we run in our roadblock, police up there, so police just come across, gun in your face for no reason at all. Right? When everybody gun should be pointed down, you're not a threat to nobody, nor the police officers. So why are guns being aimed at your head, pointing in your face, in your vehicle, and them something there? So that's just the part of me would want to learn after, so that I know if to take legal actions going forward, because I always tell myself to make a vow that now catch me again. 2 times a day sleep, not all.
Well, the good thing is, even after a few years, you can still bring that case. I mean, you're gonna need information like who lock you up, if you did get no form of paperwork or whatever the case may be. But if you have information, you can later still bring that Torque claim for that unlawful arrest. But more importantly, the Torque class, that is going to be for the signatories. Because again, it don't make sense to teach something like this for people on the outside who can't even get the basics of the traffic tickets and how to get rid of them and how to properly state their case against the ticket. You see me? So if I'm going to do the tort claim class, it is not going to be on this public side. It would be, for the signatories only. So once we're finished with the few topics that we have, then we're gonna get into how to start making these claims, and it will fall in line with what we have coming up. Like for those of you who are part of the group, I already told you that we have some exciting news coming. So make sure you did it for Saturday class because we have some really exciting news. But for those of you who are not a part of the group and you're new here, voiceofjamaica.com. That is where you get more information on how you can become a signatory. Zine? At the end of the day, we don't argue. We don't convince. We don't try anything. It's either you do or you don't. It's that simple. So at the end of the day, we don't need to be trying to convince any officer about anything. As a matter of fact, the less convincing you are, if you don't say anything, the more chance of the officer not even remembering who you are or what transpired. Right? Because if you not chat back to them, you not try to create a scene, you not try to create a memory, then that makes your case even better. Because if you don't remember where you do or remember who you are, what is there to contest about? I mean, even if you remember you, there is nothing to contest about because, like I showed you, most of these tickets are invalid. Regardless of what they want to claim, it is invalid. So, at the end of the day, we don't need to argue, we don't need to make ourselves known, we don't need to tell them nothing. And that way, they don't know who they're dealing with, right? The less you talk, the more you win. The less you talk, the more you win. So that's why I tell you, don't argue on the side of the road with the officer. Don't try to educate the officer on the side of the road. Do not try to create a scene. Don't try to be remembered. The more you do those things, the more you move in stealth. See? So at the end of the day, it don't profit you to do anything on the side of the road. Even if you argue with the officer and win, the next time the officer buck you up, guess what? He might go try and make an example out of you, or he might try a little thing. See? And that's how you start moving in the private. Because when you start learning the additional things that you can do, it will start making more sense to you why you never want to argue, why you never want to be known, why you never want to alert the other party of what is to come. Right? It's just like you're hunting. I made this reference before. If you're a hunt, you want the day make noise and stamp your foot, what is going to happen to what you're hunting or who you, well, never say who, what you're hunting. Let's say you hunt wild hog or you hunt fish. You're going to do slap the water to catch fish. You're going to do make noise in the bush. It don't make no sense you do any of that. If I really hunt, you hunt. You see me? So be in a hunting mode all the time. Use your brain and be quiet. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we have to listen more and talk less. The only reason why I talk so much is because I have to relay all this information to you guys. You see me? Exactly. The animal them gone by the time you're done with the foolishness. So at the end of the day, we have to stay lawful. But in the process of staying lawful, we have to also realize that when we go on the offensive, we don't want nobody to see how we are come. We don't want nobody to see where we are come from. We just want to make sure say we aim straight. That's it. So any more questions? Can I take one more question before we wrap it up? Siga says, this is your way of thinking. Left alone, you would be dead long before you make a point. I don't know what that means. If you're going to I don't know what it means, but if you're going to make a point, it would be good to speak English, you know, write properly and come back again. The Jamaica court system is not under anything. It can invoke common law, it can invoke equity law, it can invoke statutory law. It depends on what jurisdiction you go to the court with, or you invoke from the court. The court has many jurisdictions. All right, so again, thank you for joining the live. Hope you learned a thing or two. Big up on yourself as always, and know say always dip on the straight and narrow when it comes to the law. We don't make up things. We make sure that we stand on firm foundation when we have anything in the legal realm to deal with. Zine? So big up on yourself. Have a great evening.
Always.
Also, always.